Madam President,
Yes.
I move the board approve the September 26, 2022 agenda.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Motion passed. Moving on. Public comment period.
Use your microphone.
Sorry. Okay, no public comment, moving on. Tax rate hearing, can I get a motion for this?
Madam President,
Yes.
I move the board approve the proposed tax rate of $5.0294 for incidental and $1.2906 for debt service for a total tax rate of $6.32 in compliance with RSMO section 137.073.2 based on Jackson County Notice of Assessed Valuation 2022.
Okay. Discussion? Are you? Anything we need to talk about with this one?
Oh, did you want me to speak on it or you guys?
We
I
good?
don't think you need to unless anybody
Okay.
has questions, but I always find it odd that this is probably one of the most important votes of the year. No one shows up for it, but they'll complain later about it.
All right, go ahead and do the vote.
It's not an increase, though, is it, Rick?
No, but still, it's a setting the rate. I mean, we could always lower it if we wanted to, but
All right, motion passes. Bond presentation. Is this you, Josh? Sorry.
Good evening. We're going to go through just a kind of a timeline and answer any questions we have about the bond. Ms. Cochran with House Miller, one of our architects you're familiar with, will be going through the slideshow, and then we'll both be able to answer any questions you might have about the entire process from sequencing to scope when the campaign would start and so forth.
So good evening, everyone. Thanks. It's great to see you again tonight. So as Josh mentioned, we're going to walk you through a little bit of history on these projects. Last board meeting, you approved House Miller to move forward on the design of the new gym for Raytown High School, as well as relook at the drawing package and design that was already completed for Raytown South High School, including a performing arts center and auxiliary gym. So we're just going to walk you through a little bit of what is in those projects and the small amount of progress that we've made so far on Raytown High School. So just a little bit of backup history. Can you do it for me? Okay. Oh, go back. There we go. So just a little bit of past history for bond issues in Raytown. We are still working through the 2019 bond issue currently. This coming summer of 2023 is going to be our last summer of work, finishing out that bond issue, and hope to have a surplus left over from that. Sorry, can you go back one slide? And it was successful in 2019. Last year, we came in front of the board and talked a little bit about future bond issues. The great thing about the bond issues that we've done so far and planned for in Raytown is that they have all been no tax increase. Fix that typo. Thank you, Mrs. Plank. And that's essentially what we're projecting. So that was a $53 million bond issue in 2019, successful. What we are tracking for next year, 2023, is possible at $30 to $35 million is what it was approximated at the last we calculated with your bond counsel. And then as other future, keeping on that trajectory of every 4 to 5 years, possible 2027 at 44 million, possible 2032 at 42 million. Of course, those numbers can adjust and approximate as we move forward, but just wanted to put that in front of you. And those are all planned to be no tax increase, hopefully. Next slide. And so what we've done, Hollis Miller has a pretty long history with Raytown Quality Schools, which we're very proud of. We're very excited for. Most recently, we came back and started working with the district again in 2016. We finished out the surplus bond funds that were left over from the previous bond with some building improvements and upgrades, and mostly the elementary schools. And then we worked with your facilities team and your leadership team on assessments in 2017. And what we did is walk through all of the buildings, anything that was district owned, did assessments, meaning we looked at the roofs, we looked at the lighting, electrical, finishes on the interior, any structural concerns that could be coming into play, sites as far as playgrounds and parking lots. We looked at everything and then wrote up assessments for the district to be able to reference. And out of those assessments, lists were started to form as far as needs were concerned. So we took those and we went to your community and said, okay, this is what we see as far as needs. What are the wants? And together with your community and your board at the time and your leadership, priorities were developed. And that's what formed the project list that was created for the 2019 bond. And so this timeline is just illustrating the many locations and projects that we've been able to complete with the district since the passage of that 2019 bond. Leading up to the vote in April of 2019, we did start design prior to the bond in order to be shovel ready in 2019 as soon as that bond passed. The benefit to that was that you were allowed to get the best bang for your buck as soon as the bond passed, meaning there was no wait time and your contractors were ready to get in the ground. You're capitalizing on all of those dollars as soon as they were available and not paying extra in any inflation. That's another reason why we will complete the projects for that 2019 bond this coming summer. We pushed them up about 2 years. We were able to shift and adjust to be able to get as much savings as we possibly could before more inflation continues to hit. So this is just a simple diagram that starts to show those projects. We also started to allocate and show where those other potential bond issues could possibly land. We'll update this for next year just as reference. This is nice to have with some finished imagery as well as list of projects for the 2023 projects. Next slide. So as we prepare for that 2023 bond, these are the last prices that were shared with this board for estimates on your 2 locations for the possible projects that you approved us to move forward with last month. So the South High School Performing Arts Center and Auxiliary Gym is currently estimated. These are all in costs. These are not just construction. This is including permitting fees, soil tests, design fees. There's furniture and equipment included in these costs as well. This is an all-in number at $23,239,035. The Raytown High School Auxiliary Gym currently is estimated at $8,649,753, which gives us a basic estimate of around $31,978,794. There's an asterisk here to show that as we work with Newkirk and Novak, who was recently hired as your construction management firm, that estimate, especially for both projects, will likely fluctuate. That's going to be in response to current numbers. As you all know, markets right now are still very high. We're hoping to see some stabilization in the next year or so, but it's still pretty up in the air when that stabilization will happen. They're currently looking at the projects and applying new numbers to them to see if these are still accurate based on when these were developed last year. Okay. Next slide. Any questions on any of that before I move forward? Okay, so wanted to give you a little bit of background on the project for Raytown South, PAC and Gym. Go ahead. So current proximity for these projects are, this is an aerial view. I don't know if this has a pointer. Oh, it does. Okay, so I'll do it back here so you guys can see. So back here on this back screen, this rectangle right here is the main gym at Raytown South High School. This is the parking lot that you first see as you enter from the north down to towards the main entry. Your main entry is here on the high school. So this main parking lot here that's very large to that north side is essentially what you will be pulling into when you see these new projects constructed. The orange shape that's here is the new shape for the Performing Arts Center. One of the reasons for that proximity, one, it's a great location to be able to put this. There's spacing and size on this side of the gym. It's located very close proximity to the current theater department. The other advantage to this is because there's open space, we're also able to shift it to the northeast on this side and avoid any conflicts with the current geothermal locations that are under that parking lot. So as you all are aware, a lot of these buildings in the district are heated and cooled by geothermal piping that is underneath the ground. We don't want to interrupt any of that piping. We don't want to punch any holes in it. And so that's one of the reasons why we shifted it to the northeast to allow for that to be added easily. And then we will redirect that current drive around it and then be able to access that south parking lot. The blue square that is to the west is currently where the auditorium is located for Raytown South. That will be demolished and then a new auxiliary gym will be built in its place. It worked. Okay, so just a little bit of a close-up view of this. So this is that orange shape that I was just showing to you. What you're seeing here is a new auditorium located here. Stage is on this side to the back. We have storage and stagecraft areas even further back from that. To the front is a new main secure entry, entering into a pre-function space to be able to support that auditorium. And as you enter into the auditorium, side access here or front access here, this is all one level floor. And what you're seeing here is seating to the back, and then this is sloped for seating to the front. The benefit on this design as we work through this is that there's a flat portion to the back here that has a movable partition that drops down. And this allows the school to be able to use both spaces simultaneously, allowing this to be a multi-function performing arts center, meaning that there can be practice happening back here for cheerleading while there's theater practice happening up here. This is an acoustical partition to allow sound to hopefully be trapped in between those spaces. So you're getting maximum function out of this square footage. The other benefit to that is the seating telescopes all the way back against this wall to really open up this entire space. Added as part of the addition is a concession stand here, new mechanical spaces, dressing rooms and makeup, new restrooms located here, and an additional classroom to the backside that'll be completely adjacent to that stagecraft to allow the theater department to be able to hold class and be able to travel back and forth between the two spaces. The main gymnasium is here. Originally in this package, we were planning on renovations for the main gym, and those have already been completed in the summer of last year. So we won't be modifying anything in the gym other than some structural enhancements that will be needed to support the new additions. The rooftop units will be added here, which are currently on the second level above this corridor. We're going to move those to the roof, and then there may be some enhancements on the interior for structural to be able to support that load, but it'll be pretty minimal. And then this corridor right here that stretches from the north to the south will be demolished as part of this project as a second phase. The intent here is that the entire Performing Arts Center will be constructed first, completely opened and accessible by students and staff. Then we will demolish this corridor here and the current auditorium and build those back. But the intent is that this will be able to be functional before that auditorium is demolished and taken down.
Sandy,
Yes.
that auxiliary gym, are those bleachers along the side, right?
Yes, these are bleachers. So those are
Okay.
pushed back. That's essentially how much space they would take, and they're pushed back, and then they will come all the way out to the court line here.
Thank you.
So we're going to rebuild this corridor here. And the reason being is that there are some structural things going on in this corridor that need to be replaced. And it just made sense at the time to go ahead and fix those. A lot of those problems are very similar to what we previously saw in the current auditorium, just not built correctly. And we want to make sure that it's a safe space for students moving forward. But with that, we were able to add a little bit more square footage to this corridor, allowing 2 new collaboration spaces for students and staff to be able to use outside of the classroom. As you enter into the auxiliary gym, as you can see here, there's storage and restrooms and a brand new court space. So blowing this up here, you can see a little bit clearer what's happening in the auditorium as far as 2 completely usable spaces independently. There's also storage worked in where we could get it. There's some odd spaces here with this type of configuration, but we were able to squeak in extra storage wherever we can. There's even space here adjacent to the stage for the grand piano to be able to be tucked back and hidden when it's not in use. Makeup and dressing adjacent here, and then still access to the main gymnasium off of that new pre-function. Skip here. Gymnasium. Currently, the load for spectators in this gymnasium is 250. So the intent here is that games can be held in this auditorium with spectators for JV and varsity as scheduling is allowed. This is an ICC 500 storm shelter, which we will currently be, we are planning to put in applications for FEMA funding if it's granted, which will help with cost of the project. We won't know for a while until if the state will grant that to you, but we are going to put in applications for it.
What do we think the amount might possibly be?
For to be granted.
Okay, we're not real confident we're going to get anything out of that. They've applied for, when I say they, House and Millers applied for FEMA funds on many jobs. They've not granted that very often. So it just really depends. And then the last time that it was granted, your name gets added to a list. Just because they're saying, yes, we're going to fund it. They don't know when it's going to get funded. So when throughout our discussions, we talked about it being important that if we get FEMA funds, that's a bonus to be able to do that, but we need to plan to not have FEMA funds through the planning process and construction process.
So you're saying they could build it and fund it, pay for it, and they could give us a grant maybe a couple of years even after the project's all done.
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to bounce into some images. Any questions on the plan before I move forward? So because we did finish and complete design on this project, we do have full renderings of what it essentially will look like when it's completed. So what you're seeing here is if you're standing in that north parking lot, this eye view right here, you're standing in the middle of that parking lot looking southeast towards the new addition. So this is that new secure entry as you would walk in here, 2 double doors. There's an awning that drops over that to allow queuing for students if there's any weather, and it stretches around here. This is the auxiliary gym on this side, and this is the Performing Arts Center on this side. This is the view as you move further to the north. And this is the view of the new auxiliary gym on the west side. And then these are some images from the interior. So as you enter through that new secure entry, we do have a double height space in there to allow light. This is a little bit of an uptick in scale as far as finish level, allowing as you come for performances and theater productions, feeling a little bit of a sense of it being a theater type of approach. And so we've got polished concrete floors here with stains. This is just a stain here that runs through it that starts to pick up some of the patterning on the exterior that's brought to the interior. A small clear stereo window here that allow natural light to come down into this space. Concession stand on this side, and then entry into the auditorium beyond here. This is a view of that entry from the other perspective, if you were standing in the hallway, the pre-function. To the left around this corner is where you would access to the new corridor and the auxiliary gym beyond.
What is the capacity of the pre-function area?
I mean, it matters in that we need to make sure that people can come in, but the idea here was at Raytown South currently, there is a pre-function space there, but it's not big enough. And so we did size this up from what they previously have or what they currently have to allow more people to be able to come inside and be inside the space while they're waiting to be able to go into the auditorium. I can find that exact number for you if you'd like.
And when it comes to security, there's not like a station in the pre-function area where security.
There is actually, yes.
Okay.
So on this image right here, so if you see this door that's right there, this small area right here is actually designed for the SRO officer to sit. It's also a ticket booth so that tickets can be sold as people come in that double vestibule, pick up their tickets here and come on in. So that is dual function, not only for the auditorium, but also for the gym. So this is a view as you enter into the auditorium. You can see that slope floor reaching away from you and going down to the stage level. This is modern in that it's a 0 entry floor level, meaning it's ADA accessible as you enter in, and then there's railings here around both sides are also at the same level of the stage all the way around each side. And so this is the only slope portion as you come in. The sound booth is right here in the center of the auditorium, which is the preferred area now in modern theater productions. Stage is here. And then there's acoustical clouds floated here for sound. And then there's a catwalk above to be able to access light and speakers. This is a view of that telescoping seating to the rear. So this will all push back to this wall to allow this to all be open space. Currently, this is a concrete floor. And then this is that partition that I mentioned earlier that will drop down right here and be able to separate the two spaces.
So that backside's concrete flooring.
Yes. And then as you move into that new corridor that we're rebuilding in between the main gym and the new auxiliary gym, this is essentially what you'll see. Those are the current stairwell that goes down to the locker room. We'll be maintaining that, not moving it or changing it, just updating and probably painting it out. Opportunity for new school pride to be installed throughout the school, just start showing a hint of it here. Updating the trophy cabinets down here and working in seating opportunities as well as different types of storage. And then on the right here, you can see just a suggestion of what those collaboration spaces could be outside of those two gym environments, putting screens on the wall, marker boards, different types of seating in between each space. And then this is an interior view of what the auxiliary gym could look like. Again, it's got that movable seating that can be moved in and out to allow plenty of space. We have batting cages, basketball, as well as volleyball if needed, wall pads, and then some environmental graphics as well.
Do you know, does Raytown High have, they don't have batting cages right now, do
They
they?
do in the auxiliary gym.
Do they?
In the current one. Any questions on Raytown South?
Question, please.
And I know that we did these designs and you've kept them very up to date and forward looking. One thing that is very popular with high school students is gaming.
E-gaming. Oh, so glad you brought that up.
Thank you. See, I knew you were forward thinking. So
Yeah, so some of our previous, and Mr. Moore may be able to comment on this too. He was part of the design discussions with the committee that was put together at the school. So as we worked through those designs, we had students, teachers, staff, theater directors, even some parents that sat in there. And Mr. Moore was there as well to help us work through what needed to be included in these designs. And one of the things that did come up was e-gaming. And so as part of this, because we weren't sure how e-gaming was going to be supported by Raytown in the future, what is worked into the current drawings right now is basically the backbone to be able to support that programming. So wiring, outlets, hookups for future screens and stations on the stage or in the audience as needed. So currently in the price, we don't have the equipment worked in because we weren't sure what would be needed, but there is the wiring and the outlets to be able to plug it in.
And I think we installed that basis at Raytown Heights. Did we install that for the future?
For
possible
Raytown
use?
High School's auditorium, no, we did not. When we did
We didn't
that
do any
renovation,
more.
no, year before last. All right, so we just started looking at locations for the Raytown High School gym. We've met with our consultants to start talking about where this could possibly be placed. We actually have a meeting this week with the city to start talking about what this could look like. Basically get ahead of the game and start talking with them about any concerns they may have. So as we continue to work through the design, we try to meet those along the way so there's no hiccups when we complete. So the location that we're considering right now, Raytown High School is located right here, just north of 61st Street. Blue Ridge Boulevard runs north-south. This is the current gym located here. This blue awning right here opens into that corridor that runs in between the main gym and the auxiliary gym that's located here, and auditorium is over here. So 61st Street is running here. The best location that was proposed by the district is this area here that is currently owned over this parking lot. So there are a couple concerns with this location that we're working through right now. One is just drainage as far as how water sheds down 61st Street. This is a pretty steep slope, as you all are aware. So we're looking at locations here, whether or not it needs to shift further to the west to be able to taper down that slope and mitigate any future water problems as it continues to sheet flow into storm. The great opportunity is essentially the district owns all of this property that is outlined here and then drops down around this tree line and then back up, as well as this area over here. So we're able to utilize all of this to be able to get the new gym located, as well as look at opportunities to maximize parking in this area. So we will likely, as we add this gym and take parking away, we will add back in, and those are part of the things we're going to go through the city this week. So that's essentially what we have. As far as parity between the two schools, we do plan to match equipment, capabilities, technology, audiovisual, all of those will match in between the two schools so that there's parity on those auxiliary gyms. Any questions on that one before I?
With
So Barry- sorry, go ahead.
the auxiliary gym going across the street there on 61st, how are students during the day are going to get from one area to the other by crossing that street, or was that street going to be closed?
So currently, that's one of the things we're gonna meet with the city on to see what their thoughts are on that. The challenge we have with closing that is the bus barn sits there on the south bus barn to try and get buses out in a timely manner. Also, the way Raytown High School exits currently, they come through, come out, and then go up Blue Ridge. So as of right now, so when we started this, they started talking about, architects started talking about a skywalk. Once we start putting numbers to that, that got outrageous. It's gonna be close to right at $1 million for a skywalk. When we were trying to get more budget friendly, that's one of the first things that we pulled back from it. High school age kids cross the street every day. And so when we went through that, it looked like a crosswalk going across there and then trying to get some sort of lights. We're going back and forth with the city right now on several locations around the district asking for that. The flashing light that has like the kids on it and then just the two flashing lights, they're telling us the cost of $82,000, which I had the same reaction you just did. So we're working through that to see what our best option is. But right now we just plan on crosswalks going across and then like a drum with a sign in that sits dead in the middle of it where you can't speed up and down.
Madam President,
Yes.
question. The community meetings are scheduled to start next month, and we are on target for that.
I believe so. We're working through dates with Dr. Martin Knox on nailing those down.
So the question, do we have significant communication on that?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Just access and enough communication so that this is like well attended.
So we just barely started. We just got approved to go forward with it. So we'll be going through and moving forward with that and getting a hold of people. Dr. Martin Knox and I have been in contact with what CAC meetings looked like in the past, what participants were involved with that in the past. Not as much as having those same people, but having the same groups of people to be part of that.
President.
Yes.
So back on the site plan right there, we have kind of informally talked about possibly acquiring some more property right there along Hadley Street and possibly even opening up Hadley Street. Is there any possibility? Are we talking more about that, or?
I was not a part of any of those conversations, so I don't have a good answer for
Are
you.
you off the
on
top of
that.
your head, do you see a need to do that, or?
No, I think we have enough space there. We also have, if parking in the future would come into play and we need to look at additional parking, we have ISC that has been sitting there for an extremely long time. It's not used, it's been for sale. It's been shown one time to my knowledge. So there's additional resources we can look at, possibly demoing that building and doing additional parking there if we need it. I don't think the acquisition of more land would be required to do any of these projects.
How come you guys ruled out the ISC spot for the auxiliary gym?
It won't fit. It's one of the first places so the two spots that we went through and looked at was where the ISC was was number one. And then I also looked at pushing it all the way up to Blue Ridge and 61st Street. We have to have a 25-foot setback on one side and a 30 or 30-foot setback on the other side. So once we got the footprint of the building in there to meet the needs of what we needed, we didn't meet requirements with setback. Because the challenge with where we're at is that grade goes down pretty sharply. And that's one of the concerns that I had when I talked to Civil and we pushed everything down, is sheet water. When water's flowing across parking lots in a really hard rain, it goes really quick and we can get into trouble. With the grass there, it has some saturation where it rolls across there, it'll actually go in. So there's actually storm drains that go underneath where the building is and go underneath that parking lot. And about where Ms. Cochran and I's picture is right now, is there's some underground places, detention, thank you. The underground detention areas there that get that. So those are some of the things that we're meeting with the city on Thursday, just to go through, hey, here's what we're thinking. Go through and tell us what your thoughts are. It helps us a great deal in planning to where we don't get some curveballs like we got with South Middle. We can go into there and get out ahead of it. It worked out very well. We did the same thing with Central Middle renovations. Sandy and I met with the fire department, went through everything with them, and made sure everybody was good with everything before we started. So that's the intent of the meeting on Thursday as well.
And then I think the other thing we want to share, this is updated slightly from the handout that you all received last week. We had a great meeting late last week with Newkirk and Novak to start talking about scheduling and phasing for these projects. And so that's what has updated essentially. The rest is the same as far as at the top, you'll see design progress and documentation. We're starting now. We're going to work through the planning and the design for Raytown High School, as well as review the code compliance and then some of the design items that worked into South High, just to make sure those are still hitting the mark and where they need to be. Working on bond planning. Thank you, Ms. Payton, for bringing that up. CAC meetings, election committee formation, community bond survey, community messaging overall is kicking off at the first of next month and will stretch all the way through to April. And then construction and completion. So planning to bid prior to the bond passing so that it's shovel ready, contracts are in place and everything's ready to go as soon as that bond passes in April. And then essentially looking at a completion of May 2025 for everything. And so Newkirk is really taking a look at when they can procure materials, get in the ground, and get everything built as far as how it works for manpower. And right now, May of 2025 is when both projects will be completely finalized.
On your review of the South project, I don't want to slow anything down or anything, but it's been a couple of years, so you got several new staff, including a new principal. Of course, Shunton was on the team before, but you do have a new theater director. Are you gonna just
So I actually had that conversation today.
Okay.
I went and talked to Shunton about that, what we're gonna do with that. From a bricks and mortar standpoint, we're pretty locked on where we're at. We can move some things around. We can do some things with flow. We can do some things with graphics, paint colors, all those things. But from an actual, it's drawn. So we'll go back. I'm gonna meet with them. Alex Coster is one of our fine arts coordinators. So Alex and I have been talking quite a bit about that. He passed on names to me last week sometime. Sandy and I are trying to get a time where we can go in and meet with them and just kind of review the entire project with them. Because there are some things, if there's some things that like, hey, like we had one of the former members, he wanted a spot for him in stagecraft. So we can go over stuff like that. What we can't do is shift stagecraft from here all the way over here without costing a significant amount of money, but within reason, we're going to go through those things and get their take on what they would like to see.
All right, that's good. Thank you.
I think that's all we had to review for tonight. Any more questions or anything you want me to bounce back to that you want to see in more detail?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, looks good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, do we need a motion for recess or just, okay, we're gonna recess and for open session and going to close in a little bit. Let's take 5-10 minutes